Hey guys, Chrissy here, and today we're going to be doing a movie recap on the movie Before I Wake. The film begins with a man named Waylon. At the start of the movie, he enters Cody's room who is sleeping. While Cody is sleeping, Waylon plans to kill Cody with his gun. Before he fires his gun on Cody, the room door automatically locks itself. Waylon starts to fire his gun in the direction out of fear. Cody wakes up after hearing the gunshot. Waylon begins to cry continuously, realizing that he's unable to kill Cody. Then an orphanage is shown where a couple arrives on the scene. We meet Jessie, the wife, and Mark, the husband. They visited an orphanage to adopt Cody because their own child had died drowning in the bathtub. Mark and Jessie were so heartbroken of the loss of their child, so Mark and Jessie planned on adopting a new kid instead. Mark and Jessie were told about Cody, the 8-year-old, by the orphan management. The orphan management explains to Mark and Jessie that Cody lost his mother at a young age. She also explains that he was also adopted by 2 other families, but they weren't really a good family. As for the other family, they left Cody alone in the house, leaving Cody behind. Jessie and Mark understood the situation and still decided to adopt Cody after knowing his situation. Mark and Jessie bring Cody back to their house after adopting Cody. Cody is a well-behaved child and likes butterflies. Jessie and Mark also think that Cody's a really good kid. Later that day, we see Cody taking a drink as Jessie and Mark fall asleep. This drink keeps Cody awake at night. On the following day, they enroll Cody into a standardized school where Cody befriended a little girl there. Jessie and Mark are really excited about adopting Cody. They treated Cody like their own child. With Cody being around, this helped Mark and Jessie get rid of the stress about their child loss. Later that night, Cody falls asleep because he didn't drink his energy drink. As soon as Cody fell asleep, multicolored butterflies begin to appear in the house. Jessie and Mark begin to think it was kinda odd that there's butterflies in the house, but they ignored it. Mark tries to catch one of the butterflies for Cody. Cody shows Mark what type of butterflies he likes. Right after Cody wakes up, all the butterflies disappear. Mark loses the butterfly that he caught for Cody. When Cody returns home the following day, he takes a glimpse of the family photo of their son. He was the son of Jessie and Mark, who drowned and died. Cody asks more information about Mark's son. Mark tells Cody that he was a great kid and he was his late son. At night, Cody falls asleep again. This time when Cody falls asleep, Jessie and Mark encounters their dead son with butterflies. Jessie embraces her son and hugs him very tightly. A few moments after, Cody wakes up and everything disappears again. After the situation happened, Cody apologized to Mark and Jessie. Cody tells Mark and Jessie that he dreamed last night, which he wanted to avoid. Hearing this coming from Cody, Mark and Jessie fully understood. Cody tells Mark and Jessie that when he dreams, his dreams turn into reality. Cody asks Mark and Jessie have they seen any butterflies before their dead son appeared. So whenever Cody dreams, everything turns into reality. Whenever Jessie feels sad, she uses Cody to bring back her son. Jessie begins to tell Cody about her son even more. Jessie begins to show Cody pictures, videos, and family photos of her son. Cody falls back to sleep and begins to dream of their dead son. They realize that if Cody dreams about their dead son, he's gonna appear. This way provided a way for Mark and Jessie to see their son once more. While Cody is asleep, a mysterious monster begins to walk towards his door. This makes Cody wakes up from his sleep. As a result, Jessie's dead son disappears again. This mysterious creature that was going for Cody actually was a nightmare of Cody's. Mark and Jessie are grieving about their dead son. Mark understands the intentions of Cody, that Jessie's using Cody to see her dead son. The situation makes Mark very uncomfortable. So Mark takes out the family photos and the videos of everything about his dead son. By doing this, Jessie cannot use Cody. The next day, Cody goes to school and he begins to get bullied by one of the students. This time we see Cody falling asleep in class. While Cody's falling asleep, the mysterious monster begins to appear again. Cody called this mysterious monster the Cranker Man. The Cranker Man begins to attack the kid who was teasing Cody. The kid disappears in midair because the Cranker Man attacked him. Cody's friend is shocked about what's going on right now. She begins to scream and wakes up Cody. Cody responds and says, "What is it? Is it the Cranker Man?" The Cranker Man is one of Cody's biggest fears. Cody usually drinks an energy drink to avoid this nightmare. After school, Cody goes home. Cody's still frightened from the nightmare that he had previously in school, so he decides not to fall asleep this night. Jessie notices that Cody isn't trying to go to sleep, so she mixes up Cody's milk with medicine. Cody begins to doze off very quickly because of the medicine he has taken with his milk. Right after Cody goes to sleep, Jessie and Mark's dead son appears again, but there's something different about him. He begins to transform into Cranker Man. Jessie and Mark are both panicking right now. Jessie tells Mark to go into Cody's room and wake him up immediately. Mark asks Jessie, "Did you give Cody any sleeping pills?" They begin to panic even more because Cody's not waking up. Mark begins attacking Cody. While this is happening, the Cranker Man disappears and starts attacking Mark. After this happened, the Cranker Man begins to attack Jessie. Cody wakes up and the Cranker Man disappears. Cody watches Jessie starts to wake up. Jessie's still trying to figure out what's going on and Mark is out of sight. Cody calls the police for help. After witnessing all this happen, their police officer was suspecting that Jessie was up to something. As the officer keeps looking for for information, they find out that sleeping pills were put into Cody's milk. Now Jessie is the number one suspect because the officer doesn't trust her. So the officer takes Cody back to the orphanage. After doing so, Jessie tries to get back Cody. So Jessie decides to bring back her husband. So Jessie moves to the orphanage with intention of bringing back her husband. And then she steals Cody's work file. The file had the previous foster parents' information in there and everything about all the information on Cody and his foster parents from before. Jessie decides to meet the first foster parent of Cody. We notice that the first foster parent is the same foster parent who tried to attempt to kill Cody from the beginning of the film. He explains to Jessie that his wife disappeared because of Cody and his nightmares. He tells Jessie that he tried everything to find his wife. He also tells Jessie that he tried to kill Cody in the process, but Cody's so innocent and guiltless he couldn't put Cody to death. He tells Jessie. Later that day, Jessie goes on to the hospital, where his Cody's mother has died. The reason why Jessie has gone to the hospital to collect more information on Cody. We see that Cody's very scared about the situation. Since he's very scared, he's not sleeping at all. The doctors are forced to inject Cody to make him fall asleep. Later that night, Jessie comes to the orphanage to meet Cody. Jessie begins to second guess herself about visiting Cody. An evil spirit haunts the orphanage. All the workers of the orphanage were under imprisonment because of the haunting. Jessie begins to also see more nightmares of Cody in this process. These nightmares also include stuff about Jessie and her family and her dead son. Jessie also encounters the Cranker Man during these nightmares. Cranker Man begins to dash at Jessie, but Jessie doesn't look scared at all. Jessie pulls out a blue butterfly out of her pocket to distract the Cranker Man. Doing this made the Cranker Man calm in the situation. Jessie begins to hug the Cranker Man, and the Cranker Man begins to turn into the appearance of Cody. Cody then disappears. After Jessie stops Cody's nightmare, she takes Cody along with her back to her house. All Cody's nightmares return into pleasant dreams. The following day, Jessie hands over Cody's mother's diary. Cody's mother wrote so many details about Cody and how she loved him so much. Cody's mother also explains that she knew about Cody's superpower from the beginning of birth. She knew that Cody's nightmares and dreams would come into reality. Cody's mother was a patient of cancer, so she died after giving birth, so she couldn't meet Cody. Cody's mother made Cody sleep on a butterfly-shaped pillow to calm him down. This was the same pillow used to calm down the Cranker Man. Jessie then tells Cody an excellent story. Near the end of the film, Cody begins to control his powers. Now he will bring back everybody who disappeared.